everyone. Kinsey Schofield here. Welcome to Crown and Conflict, a series dedicated to dissecting the most riveting royal stories in history with insight from world-renowned royal experts. We explore the stories that shook the monarchy and captivated the globe. This week, I'm excited to welcome royal biographer Hugo Vickers. Together, we are remembering Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Kent, which I had several people reach out to me saying, I'm so curious about this woman. So I knew that you were the perfect person to explore her history with. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of unrelated stories off the top so we can catch up on some current events before we go into honoring the Duchess of Kent?
We've got to do the conflict before the crown.
That's the truth. Is that not the truth? All right. So Prince Harry trying
Yeah.
to force this half in, half out royal lifestyle with his latest visit to the UK. That's how I saw this as I watched him do conflicting tours with Prince William. In the same 24 hours, we see Harry with young musicians, Prince William, the future king with young musicians, the donation. Um, am I being too sensitive in interpreting that as Harry trying to force this case that the Queen specifically said, that's not the way this works?
Yeah, it's a complicated one, isn't it? Because, first of all, I approve of him doing these sort of things because that's what he's good at, instead of hanging around in the garden while his wife chops up petals and scatters them over salads and things. Um, Having said that, of course, again, we can't stop him supporting charities if he's doing a good job. But I do see what you mean. It does look rather like a sort of pseudo royal engagement, and that is a shame. I sometimes think those coincidences are a little bit, just really are coincidences. I mean, everybody's out and about doing things. It's not very difficult for the media, particularly our media over here, to make a link, to say, aha, they're doing the same thing, because presumably these things are arranged separately and somewhat in advance, and they probably didn't know that they were going to be doing similar engagements. That's what I think.
All right. Well, that's a very mature response. Thank you for being the adult in the room as I as I sit and just fume. Talk to me about the meeting with King Charles. We I did not anticipate it. In fact, for 2 weeks, I said, nope, 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 it won't happen. I don't believe that it would happen. I think Prince Harry is too much of a liability. And within an hour of Prince Harry leaving, or maybe 2 hours of Prince Harry saying goodbye to his father, he's telling people at his Invictus event that his dad's doing great. I mean, I would just say no comment. Oh, you know what? I don't really feel comfortable
Yes,
reacting to that.
I mean, the good thing is we don't know what they talked about. I mean, nothing has come out. I mean, if it does, then I will be absolutely with you on that one. I personally have always been very keen that the two of them should meet, because I believe, like the late Queen, in conciliation, and that, that if people are prepared to compromise, it's a good idea, and one meeting can lead to another meeting. It doesn't mean that it's going to be leading to him coming back, because he would be a complete distraction, as he's proved to be the whole of this week, because the other members of the royal family go about their duties perfectly quietly and happily. But whenever he does anything, the media focuses on him. So if he came back and decided to undertake royal engagements, he would be in conflict with the king completely and deflect from what the king is doing. But just looking at it from a sort of father-son point of view, I think it's good that they meet, because, the king isn't well. He might not live a great deal longer. We don't know. We hope he will. It would be awful if there hadn't been some sort of private resolution between them, because Prince Harry carries a lot of baggage around with him already to do with his dead mother. I think he probably carries quite a lot of baggage around to do with his present situation and his wife. So if his father died with him still thinking that they were on really bad terms, that would be awful. I mean, it's just going to be the same for the children who haven't met their grandfather. But so I don't resent them having a cup of tea together, but I don't think it means anything more than that. And I hope it was a civilized meeting.
I mean, obviously, yes. I hope that Prince Harry it was a peaceful experience, and Harry didn't ask for anything, because that was one of my biggest concerns, that he'd roll in complaining about his security situation yet again, especially seeing how well protected he was during
He
the trip.
He was, exactly. And I think he always will be, especially if he was in any danger. But the fact is, he cannot expect to have blanket security paid for by the taxpayer when he's doing absolutely nothing of any use for this country at all. Absolutely out of the question.
You talked about guilt in your previous answer. I would feel really guilty if I released a Netflix series painting the entire institution as this racism institution, unfact checked, by the way. They talked about art within the palaces that were racist, that aren't even in the palaces anymore. Um, they were so hateful and spare Harry, the unnecessary comments about Prince William's physical appearance, how Prince William isn't as handsome as he used to be, Catherine's private text messages. And, within a few months, we find out that, and they actually weren't as hateful to the king as much as they were to Prince William and Catherine throughout this entire thing. But I mean, and also just to jump in and interrupt myself, Endgame literally came out weeks before we found out that there were these two very serious surgeries that the king and the princess of Wales needed to have. So they were, you know, assaulted by these headlines about them being the royal racists while they're trying to deal with these health issues. Do you think Harry feels guilty about those actions now, and that's why he's dropping a $1.5 million donation in the UK? That is that blood money?
I imagine, yeah, I imagine that there's a certain element about that. I would also add in, by the way, doing the Oprah Winfrey interview when Prince Philip was gravely ill, as he must perfectly well have known, and causing an enormous amount of distress to his grandmother in the last 2 years of her life. I think there's an awful lot that he needs to apologize for. But having said that, still feel it was a good idea for him to have a chat with his father. It can't have done either of them any harm. That, at least I hope not.
Yeah. I feel really guilty that I'm annoyed by the meeting. I wish I didn't feel that way, but am incredibly protective of Prince William and Catherine. Instinctively I just am very protective of them. And I feel like this is a meeting that would disappoint Prince William and potentially make him nervous, because he doesn't trust his brother and he's afraid that his brother might see or hear things, whether the king wants him to or not, that he could repeat or turn around and monetize and use against the family yet again.
Well, I mean, the one thing where I'm really absolutely with you on this one is, of course, that when he comes back here, to some extent, he becomes Prince Harry again, and of course, he needs to do that to show that he's welcome. I mean, he isn't going to be allowed up onto the balcony anymore. He's not going to be seen in any fine uniforms. And I always thought, well, goodness me, as time goes on, the man who was once Captain General of the Royal Marines in fantastic uniforms and all the wonderful things that he, traveling in carriages and appearing on the balcony, that is a member of the royal family. Instead of which you get this guy stumbling off a plane with a backpack and a woolly hat, and that's really eventually what he becomes. He just becomes another character like that. So there, of course, the fact that he has some sort of access to the king, I suppose, does have a potential monetizing element which isn't very attractive. But on balance, I think I was pleased that they met. I think it's such an awful situation that he's in already. I mean, I don't think he's in control of his life in any way at all. I think he's completely controlled by Meghan Markle. And so, if he can slip out every now and again and, perhaps maybe he did say sorry. Let's hope he did, because he's the one who has to say sorry, not the other way around. That's for sure.
Amen. Do you think that this it's interesting at all, this personal donation? That's what the headline kept saying, personal donation. What does Archwell do? Why would it not be an Archwell donation? What does Archwell do? What does Archwell do? Why does it exist?
Do you think Archibald gives money to Prince Harry for him to make personal donations with? I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know what's going on.
Isn't
But
that did that not was that not strange at all to you that the headline specifically said personal donation? It felt all very orchestrated. I mean, it leads into my next question. Is he doing this, showing up, extending his trip for 4 days because he's looking for some positive PR? He's trying to turn things around because the public has acted reacted very negatively towards him and his wife in the last 5 years.
Well, they certainly have, and I think you're right. I mean, when he does these sort of things, whether he does them in this country, the UK, or elsewhere, he does get positive publicity because he's actually quite, he's good at it. He's been trained to do that,
But
and
be
he.
also remember in the Times piece that you sent me, she says specifically that he handpicks media that is generous to him
Oh
to
yes,
cover him. And you want to be the first out of the gate. If you have these great headlines that are first out of the gate, then the Express and Daily Mail and everybody just kind of goes, all right, I'll just reword this. And it's
yes. He doesn't get entirely good publicity in this country, I have to say. And but the one thing that when I read the account of the meeting, I read several accounts in different newspapers. Nobody had anything new to say. I mean, they hadn't been told anything. Okay, he says, "Oh, he's great." Well, that's a kind of a non-comment, isn't it? I mean, it's not exactly saying. If he said no comment, to be honest, that would sound. Well, people would say, "Well, he knows something which he isn't going to share with us. It must be something bad." They would get at him for that. So I don't blame him for any of those sort of things. Let's just hope that he keeps quiet and actually, to be honest, that he doesn't come back and do it again too soon.
all right. I agree. Unless he brings, and people will be mad at me for saying this, but the only way I could justify it is if he brings Archie and Lily to actually see their grandfather. And then I'll say, when is it Thomas Markle's turn?
Well, I, wouldn't put money on Thomas Markle seeing his grandchildren. I mean, I think that's a
Ever.
horrible situation. Ever, yeah.
Because Thomas Markle can't do anything for Meghan Markle.
And Thomas Markle was, am I not right, living about 70 miles away? I mean, very close. I mean, it wouldn't have been.
He's
He's
moved. He's moved
moved
recently, but
now.
yes, but he
Was,
was.
yes, I mean it's a horrible situation that. I mean I've listened to a lot of the things that he says. I mean he gets reported, people twist, his words around and things, but if you actually listen to what he says, I think he's a very decent man, Thomas Markle. And he certainly was brought that girl up. He was the one who really looked after her and got her involved in the things which she's interested in later. I mean he must be feeling so dejected and rejected and bitter.
I
Really
would
awful.
be. All right. Agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Thank you so much for your time today. I know I will see or talk to you again in record time. Thank you so much, Hugo.